Hello, you're watching Newsfeed. The United Nations says the number of civilian casualties has reached record levels in Gaza. Israel's bombardment of Gaza has killed thousands and displaced more than 1.4 million from their homes. Israeli bombs have not stopped since October 7th. Amid severe shortages of food, water, and electricity, aid agencies are warning of a health crisis. Desperate Gazans have been sharing their plight online.
But if the bombs don't kill us here in Gaza, then starvation meat. Some people call Gaza an open-air prison, but it's starting to feel like a concentration camp.
I'm going to the bakery to buy some bread. We are all go to buy food to survive.
Israel stopped all food, water, and electricity from coming into Gaza. And now everyone is scrambling to find even the smallest bit of food to keep themselves and their families alive. People lining up to buy bread from the only bakery left in the area I live in. But the problem is the amount of bread available is so limited, and it's needed by the thousands of people in South Gaza that fled the north after the Israeli occupation told them to leave. The bread is running out quickly, and we are all losing weight.
Even before Israel's siege began, Gazans face massive food insecurity, restrictions on their movement, as well as water and electricity shortages. Israel controls land and sea access to the enclave, and limiting supplies is a regular tactic. The British aid agency Oxfam has accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war in Gaza. It says the devastated area is receiving just 2% of the food needed to survive. Before Israel's siege, 104 aid trucks delivered food daily. That's about one every 14 minutes. The United Nations says 70% of the people killed in Gaza are women and children. Although Israel had warned residents to flee to southern Gaza to avoid its bombings, alarmingly, Israel is now targeting sites where Palestinians are seeking safety.
مع بداية كل يوم جديد ومع استمرار القصف الإسرائيلي المستمر على غزة يحاول مثل جميع النازحين العثور على مصدر للماء.
Russia is fighting for survival in the southern city of Rafah in Gaza, where a humanitarian catastrophe is unfolding. She's one of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who are forced to flee the north of the country to escape Israeli bombing.
بينما لا تزال إسرائيل تمنع دخول الماء إلى غزة. أحاول البحث عن أي شخص لتعبئة جالون الماء هذا. لا يوجد أي قطرة ماء صالحة للشرب في البيت. لحسن الحظ وجدت مسجد بيعبي مية، فرح أحاول أعبي. ولكن تبدو ضعيفة. ما رح تعبي. يمكن تعبي ربع أو أقل. هاي مشكلة. مشيت نحو كيلومتر من المسافة بحثاً عن الماء. ثم عرض علي رجل المساعدة للحصول على مياه صالحة للشرب ووافق. سألت أين يمكنني العثور على مياه صالحة للشرب؟ أجابني أن هناك مسجد يعبئ المياه ولكن يتوجب علي الوقوف في طابور طويل من الناس. ثم رأيت طابور طويل من الناس والأطفال يصطفون في هذا الطابور من أجل الحصول على مياه صالحة للشرب. بعد رحلة شاقة للغاية عدت إلى أطفالي وأطفال نازحين غيري. لقد فرحوا جدا عندما أطلبوا معي ماء الشرب.
As social media accounts like that give the world a real-time look at what's going on in Gaza, many more Palestinian social media users are reporting that they've been shadow banned. Prominent pro-Palestinian account Eye on Palestine is one of the latest victims. Sari reports on the shady business of shadow banning.
The neutrality of social media platforms has always been subjected to scrutiny. And in times of conflict, such criticisms are amplified. A site's way of moderating content or not can help shape the storyline for wider audiences. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas is no exception. Online, users have been accusing platforms of silencing them and limiting their reach.
And TikTok has been banning me, striking my content, and deleting it consecutively when I'm speaking the truth about Palestine. This is literally the recent video that I just posted, which out of many has been banned so many times, and after an appeal, after getting approved, it will continue to ban today.
Instagram is literally trying to censor any outcry from people towards or on behalf of Palestine. So as someone who usually has about 200 to 300 views on my Instagram stories, I literally posted this over 15 hours ago, and it still only is at 5 views. 5 views.
Instagram in particular is criticized heavily for using algorithms to bury posts related to Palestine. Users argue that any content including words and emoji like Gaza or the Palestinian flag are filtered from the feed. Those affected by the shadow ban include activists and journalists.
Your video is no longer available for me to watch. I mean, I've spent countless hours with other NGOs and in private conversations with people at Meta and Facebook about the shadow banning. And here I am. My content is, and it's very subtle. My content is accessible if you actually go to my page and go to the reel and click on that video. You can watch my live. But if you watch it and you feel something and you want to share it so other people can watch it, even though you've shared it and it's been up there for 24 hours, nobody on your feed who sees your stories can click through into it. And that's a very, very effective way to limit the spread of truth.
Meta was quick to respond to the allegations. The tech giant's communications director, Andy Stone, released a statement on X, saying the visibility issue was due to a bug that affected all stories of reshared content, regardless of the subject. While the company says the issue is fixed, many activists online are still trying to subvert the algorithms with screenshots for reposts and intentional typos, highlighting the resilience of digital activism.
Just 4 weeks ago, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan stated the Middle East region is quieter today than it has been in 2 decades. On Thursday, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh warned that if Israel's war on Gaza continues, it will put the entire region out of control. Nick looks at how shifting allegiances in the region upended the relative calm in the Middle East.
Saudi Arabia, probably the most dominant Gulf state, had taken tentative steps towards establishing ties with the Jewish state. Many Middle East analysts have said this angered Iran. Tehran has long backed Hamas, and that anger could have provoked the October the 7th Hamas attack on Israel. Saudi has put its Israel normalization plans on ice and is now engaging with Tehran.
Saudi Arabia is the custodian of the 2 holiest sites in Islam. And I think Hamas fears that if there were to be normalization with Saudi Arabia, other Muslim nations, other Arab nations would follow suit.
In 2020, the United Arab Emirates normalized relations with Israel. The Emiratis were quick to condemn the killing and kidnapping of Israelis and urged both Hamas and Israel to de-escalate and avoid further violence. As soon as Israel responded to the October 7 attack, the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah exchanged artillery fire and launched other attacks into Israel, escalating fears that a regional war could erupt. Israel also has full diplomatic relations with Arab neighbors Egypt and Jordan. They signed peace treaties in 1979 and 1994, respectively. Egypt normally suppresses pro-Palestine protests, but has allowed them to go ahead recently, suggesting that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi appreciates how combustible a period this is. Certainly, his country's border with Gaza has put extra pressure on Egypt's geopolitical balancing act. Egypt, along with the tiny Gulf state of Qatar, have been brokering the release of the hostages held in Gaza. Qatar hosts Hamas's political bureau and is the main residence of its self-exiled leader Ismail Haniyeh, as well as former leader Khaled Mashal. The country is one of Hamas's main backers, transferring hundreds of millions of dollars to the group annually. But Israel has recognized its diplomatic efforts. National Security Advisor Zaki Hanegabi posted on X that Qatar is becoming an essential party and stakeholder in the facilitation of humanitarian solutions. The explosion at the Al Ahli Arab Hospital in Gaza on October the 17th ramped up Israel-Middle East tensions. Most Arab states immediately blamed Israel. Certainly most Arabs did, expressing their outrage on the streets and on social media.
You cannot justify what's happening to the ordinary people of Palestine. This has to stop.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas had already pulled out of talks with US President Joe Biden, and the meeting was cancelled altogether, with King Abdullah II calling the hospital attack a heinous war crime that cannot be ignored. Just 4 weeks later, Jake Sullivan's observation of a quieter Middle East seemed way off the mark now. The escalating violence in and around Israel presents the biggest challenge to Middle East peace seen in recent years.
Now let's take a look at some other news. Gun violence is in the spotlight again in the U.S. after a mass shooting in Maine this week killed 18 people. It's the deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. in 2023. This year alone, the country has recorded more than 560 mass shootings. This means there have been more mass shootings in the U.S. than there are days in the year. There is no official consensus on what constitutes a mass shooting in the U.S., but the nonprofit research database Gun Violence Archive defines it as an incident in which 4 or more people are injured or killed. And it's just released some shocking numbers about mass shootings across the U.S. In each of the last 3 years, the country has endured over 600 mass shootings. That's approaching 2 shootings a day. Last year, by this time, the number was 455, making it clear that the situation is not getting any better, but intensifying. And once more, America's gun violence problem takes center stage.
What is America's reputation in the world?
Probably mass shootings, as bad as it sounds.
That's all we known for?
America. Guns. Crime rate is high. Like,
would you say, like, when you're in America, you are feeling more afraid than in Europe?
Definitely.
So much guns. What you're saying now, like they're selling guns, they have guns, you see children with guns. Their best idea to sort of stop all that is more guns.
Why do you think Americans love guns so much?
Probably the Constitution and just because they're crazy.
Every day, over 50 lives are claimed by firearms in the U.S., and 1 in 6 Americans has witnessed a shooting firsthand. This makes addressing this ongoing tragedy more urgent than ever. But the issue is a highly political one, with gun control supporters on one side and defenders of the right to bear arms on the other. Yet one fact unites many: growing recognition that gun violence is not just a matter of security, but also a public health crisis. And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.